Hi, everybody. Welcome to another English class here on verbling.com. My name is Lisa, and I'm one of the English teachers here at Verbling. And in this hour, we're going to be having a reading class. We have an article that we're going to read from npr.org, which is a news radio station here in the United States. And it's about weather patterns. We've been having a very, very cold winter on the East Coast here in the United States. I live on the West Coast, so it's actually been pretty nice for the winter. But on the East Coast, they've been having very cold, freezing temperatures, a lot of snow, and that type of harsh weather conditions. So we're going to be reading about that in this article today. I put the article over there in the Verbling chat, and I can put it there again so people can go there and open it. We're going to read it from a Google Drive document, and also here's the link to the original article to the NPR. If you have a reservation for this class, for this hour, you can use it now. You always have the first 2 minutes of the hour to use the reservation. If you don't have a reservation but you want to join the class, then you can just click on the Join Class button at any time. All Verbling classes are they all start on the hour and they all end at the end of the hour. So they're all 1 hour long. So if you're new to Verbling and you're checking it out and you're trying to understand what's going on here and what people do on this website, we have a couple of different things. You can take classes with English speaking teachers, native English speaking teachers. And we pretty much have classes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sometimes we have several classes going at the same time. Probably right now, we probably have 3 or 4 classes happening at once. And you can choose which class you would like to take. We have different classes. Reading, I do a lot of reading classes, some writing classes, speaking classes. Some people do vocabulary, grammar, of course, pretty much anything. And a lot of it's really great for everybody. And some people need specific things like TOEFL preparation or IELTS preparation. So we have some teachers who also do that. So we have lots and lots of different options for students. Different people wanting to do different things. But in this hour, what I'm going to be doing is reading an article. We're going to be reading this article here about China's, well, it's really kind of like what's happening in China may be affecting what is happening in terms of weather in the United States. So the title is Why China's Pollution Could Be Behind Our Cold, Snowy Winters. So it's probably intermediate, upper intermediate article, and it's about weather and weather patterns and how things happening in one part of the world affect other parts of the world. So, okay, hi there, Edeline. How do you say your name?
Sorry. Adeline, the name? No, my name is Teresa.
Your name's Teresa.
I think I'm using the hangout of my uncle. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Teresa, okay. Teresa, where are you calling from?
Brazil.
Oh, okay. What part of Brazil?
Recife.
Recife, okay, cool. My brother lived there when he was a teenager for one year. He was a foreign exchange student. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he loved it there. Yeah. How's your weather there today?
Sorry.
How is the weather today in Recife?
Oh, so hot. So hot. Here is humid and hot and hot and hot. So
yeah. Wow.
So it's not good, the weather here.
No.
But now today it's good because rain in the morning, so it's good.
Oh, okay. It rained in the morning. Good. Do you live near the beach?
I'm sorry?
Do you live near the beach?
No. More or less 7 kilometer
7 kilometers. Okay. Yeah.
kilometer of the beach.
Oh,
So with I have to take 2 bus to arrive at the beach, but it's not far.
not
So
not
yeah.
so far. Yeah. Good. Okay, great. Are you new to verbling, or have you been taking classes on verbling?
Sorry, repeat. Is
Are
the
you,
this?
yeah, are you new to verbling?
Oh yes, yes. It's my first class.
Oh, it's your first class. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I tried it yesterday, but I had a problem if the camera of the and the audio of the computer.
Audio.
So I try again today.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Um,
Good.
why are you learning English?
Um, I I like English language, and I like to study other language. I study to German.
Okay.
Uh, and Spanish too sometimes.
Mhm.
So I want to live in another country. I don't know until what's the country I will go, but I want to work and to live because here in Brazil it's so difficult to live because we have conditions. The weather is not good here in Recife,
Yeah.
and I had other problems relation to violence.
Oh,
So I want to go for other country to work and to.
yeah. Are you
So I need to learn English because of this. Uh, Here in Brazil is um to work in big companies, it's necessary to know English very well. And for other countries, it's necessary too, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Nowadays, yes.
Mhm.
So, how long have you been learning English?
Um, I think 3 years.
2 years. Great.
Yes, yes. I traveled Australia last year. I studied 1 month there,
In Australia.
but I need to study more. I don't know. Uh, I don't know very well English. I needed to study more to inside in the big companies. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have to improve
Improve. Yeah.
the
Right. Yeah. What about work? Are you working now or just studying?
just studying.
Okay.
I do master degree,
Okay. Uh-huh. Master.
uh,
Yeah.
mas- degree.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if the pronounce correct.
Yeah, that's right. Master's. You said it right. Yeah. Mhm.
Um,
You see the
Sorry.
verbally chat?
In let me show the message. Yes, yes.
Okay. Master's. Yeah.
And
What's
I
what's the topic? What's your subject for master's degree?
and energy technology.
Oh,
If photovoltaic energy,
solar panels. Yeah. Photovoltaic.
photovoltaic energy. I don't know. Energia solar in Portuguese. Yeah, I think it's
Solar.
photovoltaic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, solar panels, solar energy. Yeah, solar energy. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. Well, that's interesting. Well,
Yes.
you probably use a lot of solar energy in Brazil because of the sun.
Eh, not until now, but I wait that the government do a good project to apply the solar energy here. It's it's growing. It's
Growing?
growing.
Yeah.
The projects about solar energy in Brazil.
Oh, okay. Good. Interesting. Well, cool. We have an article that I'm going to read, and some people are probably going to join. Hi, Ken. He's joining us. Welcome. So I'm going to put it in the screen share here,
Um,
and everybody will be able to see the article. And you can click on the link too if you want to open the article. So hi, Ken. Welcome.
um,
Yes, hello. How are you?
Hi. How are you?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. Welcome. Okay, so we can go ahead and get started. Maybe some other people might join us. I don't know, it's kind of slow this morning. Uh, okay. Do you see, Teresa, do you see the article?
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, cool. So I got this article from npr.org, and what it's talking about is this possibility that pollution in China and actually India too, I think, could be affecting the weather over here where I live in the United States. If you guys have been maybe reading on the news or listening, the United States on the East Coast, we've been having some very cold winter weather this winter. So places like New York and Boston have had lots and lots of snow, freezing cold temperatures, and it's just been very, very rough for those people living in on the East Coast. So people are probably trying to figure out why is it so cold? Why are we having so much snow? Because it's unusual, and it's been really rough for the people living there. So the climatologists, people who study the climate, they've been looking at some different information, different data, and they have this video here that we can watch a little bit of it after we read, but it shows, I'll just show you a little bit of it, it's kind of showing different colors and they represent different things, and we're going to read about that, and it shows how these different particles move across the globe and can influence weather patterns. Now, I'm not a scientist, so I don't really understand everything, but this is what it looks like, what is happening around the globe with different things that are being put into the air, into the atmosphere, due to like industrialization and coal burning and things like that, and how it affects weather patterns. So I think this article is interesting, and it has some good vocabulary related to weather and also directions. So a lot of times people get confused about how to talk about east, west, northeast, northwest, south, that type of thing. So this article has some good vocabulary for that, and we're going to read it, and I'll go over some of it as well. Okay, so you can see those are the clouds and stuff. So it's pretty cool to watch, but we're going to understand it better if we read this first. Okay, so let's see, who else joined us? Drum, D-Drum. D-Drum 2000A, that's what it says on your thing here. Hi, D-Drum. What's your name, D-Drum? And also your microphone is muted. Hi.
Hi, my name is Ever.
Ever?
Yes,
Ever. Okay, where are you from?
I am from El Salvador.
El Salvador. Okay.
Yeah.
Ever. Okay, well, welcome. And we're going to get started. So the way I do this for the reading classes is I choose lots of different types of articles. So some are more interesting to some people than others, but it's really the purpose is to give you a lot of variety and different topics, different vocabulary, the use of different phrasal verbs, things like that. And I choose articles from the internet. So these are all articles that are in English originally. They are not specifically for English learners. So these are the types of articles that I read and other people read. And so that way you're going to just get the real English the way it's used every day in the United States. Let's see, we also had another person join. Hi, e-teacher.
Hello, my name is Antonio. Please call me Tony or Antonio.
Tony. Okay, wonderful. Hi, Tony.
Okay,
welcome.
Good morning here in my country, Lima, Peru.
Lima, Peru. Okay, excellent. Wonderful. Well, welcome. We're just about ready to get started with the reading. Yeah, welcome to class. Okay, so the title is called Why China's Pollution Could Be Behind Our Cold, Snowy Winters. So what I do for the reading class is I read out loud. So the purpose of that is for you guys to listen and to see if you can understand just by listening to me. Also, you can read along if you want, or you could close your eyes and listen. And then after I read out loud, then we'll take turns and people will read out loud the same part that I just read. So we're actually reading this article twice. And then I will go over some of these words just to make sure everybody's on the same page and you understand. You don't have to understand every single word, but just to get the idea of the context and the gist and the main ideas of the article. All right, so it's March. It's freezing, and there's half a foot of snow on the ground. When is this winter going to end? Many scientists think that climate change might be one cause of this year's snowpocalypse in Boston and bitter cold snaps in New York and Washington. Okay, why don't we start with Ken, and then we'll go down the line there. Ken?
Okay. It's March, it's freezing, and there's half a foot of snow on the ground. When is this winter going to end? Many scientists think that climate change might be one cause of this year's snowpocalypse in Boston and bitter cold snaps in New York and Washington.
Okay, good. Yeah, I wanted to also explain just here behind. So in the title it says why China's pollution could be behind our cold. So when we use it behind like this, it means like the cause. You know, China's pollution could be the cause of our cold, snowy winter. So if something is behind something, it could be literal, like a location, like you are actually somebody standing behind you, like in back of you. But in this sense, it's used to describe the cause of something. So the pollution could be behind these cold winters that we're having this year, this cold winter. Okay, so I wanted to just make sure you understood how that's being used. And then some of these words, okay, it's March. Of course, we are in March. It's March 11th. And it's freezing. Freezing means it's so cold. Not just cold, but, I mean, temperature-wise, it's 0 or below, and that is freezing weather. So usually with freezing weather, you get snow or ice mostly, and it's just not very fun, especially if you have to go outside, walk to work, drive to work. It can be very difficult. So that's the reality of what's happening in Boston. And
Is it correct?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it correct to say I am freezing?
Yes, you can say I am freezing. Yeah. Exactly. So as you can see, the winter of 2015 in Boston has just been really crazy. These are some pictures of all the snow just piling up. They don't even know where to put all the snow. It's been piling up, and it's just really unusual. It does not snow normally this much every winter, luckily for them. But this is what's been happening in the northeastern part of the United States. So just so you get an idea, if you haven't already seen pictures on the news or something, this is what's happening. So definitely a very, very freezing cold winter. And yes, you can say I'm freezing, you can say it's freezing, you know, he's freezing, yeah. Okay. So there's a half a foot of snow. So I just wanted to point that out because sometimes people in describing like a half of something. So we say a half a foot of snow. You could say half an inch. You could say half a meter. You know, something like that. So there's still snow. So a lot of it has melted already, but there's still half a foot. That's about 6 inches there, 12 inches in a foot, and it's still on the ground. So when we talk about the ground, some people get confused about what the ground is. In a house, we call it the floor. So we talk about the floor, but outside on the earth, we say on the ground. So, you know, this is the ground here where people are walking, and so there's still some snow on the ground. And so people are asking themselves, oh my gosh, when is this ever going to end? We want spring. Forget about winter. Okay, so I think people know climate change, the fact that people think that our climate overall is changing, either getting hotter or getting colder in some places. And this is, of course, a play on the word apocalypse, which is like a horrible event. So, but this has been a snowpocalypse, so much snow. And then here, bitter in this sense is not about taste. So usually we use the word with bitter like sweet, sour, bitter. Something tastes bitter, like coffee can be bitter. But in this case, bitter here means like it's something you don't like. So it's like, ooh, it's so cold. It's bitter cold. It's very freezing. And a cold snap is like a short period of time when it comes in and it freezes. So like, if you hear on the weather, there's, you know, New York is experiencing a cold snap this weekend. It means this weekend there's going to be freezing cold temperatures. That's called a cold snap, a certain time period of very cold weather. Okay, but physicists at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory have been looking into another culprit, air pollution in China and India. Over the past 30 years or so, man-made emission centers have shifted from traditional industrialized countries to fast-developing countries in Asia, physicist Jonathan Jiang writes in an email. The animation from NASA shows how pollution from Asia and other continents mixes and moves around the world. It's a simulation made with satellite data from September 2006 to April 2007. Okay. Ever? Is that right?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, it's your turn to read. I was trying to remember your name because I'm looking at D-drum and then I have to remember. Evan.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. You can read that part.
But and this paragraph, okay.
Yeah, all that. Yeah.
But physicists, is the correct pronunciation?
Physicists.
Ah,
Yeah,
But
physicists.
physicists at NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory have been looking into another culprit, air pollution in China and India. Over past 30 years or so, man-made emission centers have shifted from traditional industrialist countries to fast-developed countries in Asia. Physicist Jonathan Jiang writes in an email, the animation from NASA showed how pollution from Asia and other countries mixes and moves around the world. It's a simulation made with the satellite data from September 2006 to April 2007.
Okay, good. All right, so let's go over some of this. So physicists, those are the guys working with physics and science. They're scientists. Okay, so NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. Jet propulsion, that's just the type of laboratory. Propulsion means when the jet moves, you know, like it takes off or something. It's being propelled into the air. So they've been looking at another culprit. A culprit is another reason, another cause, you know, the cause of the problem. So culprit, another word would just be another cause or reason. Okay, so when you look for the culprit of something, you're looking for why. Why is this happening? And so they're saying perhaps it could be air pollution both in China and also in India. Okay, man-made. So these are made by man because of human beings making things. So that's what we say man-made. Emission centers. So an emission is what is emitted into the atmosphere, into the air. And so it used to be 30 years or so ago that industrialized countries, so places like the United States, countries in Europe, Japan, that were highly industrialized, they were emitting most of the pollution. But now this has shifted. So to shift means to change. So it's changed from these areas to the what we call now the developing countries. So these countries in Asia, for example, are quickly, very quickly developing industries, and so they are becoming the main emission centers, the places around the world where a lot of pollution is being emitted or put into the air. So this is an animation, the little video up there, and it shows how the pollution mixes and moves. So to mix together, so how it's affecting where comes from India, from China, and around, and then it's moving. So we saw that, and we call this a simulation. So when they make this video here that we were just watching, this is when it's animated, it's moving. That's the animation part, and it's simulating from all this different information, all the data points, what it could have looked like. Okay, so this is just, they made it up based on the information. That's what you call a simulation. You're simulating, that's the verb, something. You're pretending like this is what could have happened. Like we also use the word simulation, like if you're learning how to fly an airplane, you don't just automatically go fly an airplane. Sometimes you go into a simulator first and you practice with the simulation. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, just jump in and ask me, no problem. And if you're not sure how to use the word or something, then you can ask me that as well. So that's good. Okay, the colorful swirls. So we were just watching these. These are the swirls, the things that we're seeing moving around here. Those are called swirls. So the colorful swirls represent airborne particles in the atmosphere. Many of those particles are sea salt, shown in blue, picked up from the ocean, and dust, shown in red-orange, scooped up from deserts. But there are also man-made sources of particles. Soot from fires is shown in green-yellow, and sulfur from fossil fuel emissions and volcanoes is in white. Okay, Tony, you want to read that part there?
The colorful swirls represent airborne particles in the atmosphere. Many of those particles are sea salt, shown in blue, picked up from the ocean, and dust, shown in red-orange, scooped up from deserts. But there are also man-made sources of particles. Soot from fires is shown in green-yellow, and sulfur from fossil fuel emissions and volcanoes is in white.
Good. Okay, so airborne particles. Airborne just means in the air, in the atmosphere, and the particles are the little tiny things that are emitted. So some particles are just sea salt. So we see that in blue, shown, to show, shown in blue. And I just wanted to point out these phrasal verbs. So picked up from the ocean. So to pick up something literally means to, reach with your hand, grab it, and then lift it up. So the same kind of idea with the weather here. Some of these things are being put into the air because they're picked up, like with wind maybe or something, from the ocean. The wind can pick things up and move it. And then in English, we don't like to keep using the same words over and over again, so we use different words, but that mean the same thing. So scooped up from deserts pretty much means the same thing. When you scoop something up, usually you scoop it up with your hand or like a shovel or a spoon or something like that. So the scooping is a movement, and you move it up. So from deserts, with wind, the dust, the little sand particles and things come into the air because of the wind, and we call that dust. And then we have soot. Soot is from the fires, so it's probably easier just to give you guys a picture. So this kind of stuff, whenever you have some kind of industrialization, some factories or something, something's burning, then you have, this is called soot. So that's going into the air.
Fumes?
Yeah, fumes. Fumes are more like coming from cars and things. Yeah, but soot is especially from a fire, and it's usually black. You know, black, brown. Yeah. Fumes can be clear, like you can't see them really. You know, they can be different colors, different fumes. But soot is especially from a fire. Okay, so we got soot from fires. That's shown in the green and yellow in that animation. And then we have sulfur, of course, is burning when fossil fuel emissions, so like coal, for example. And then volcanoes. So we have things when the volcanoes shoot off, they shoot particles into the air as well. So all of this is going into the air, getting mixed around, moved around, and that might be affecting the weather. As the animation moves through time, you can see fires billow up from South America and parts of Africa. Dust from the Sahara Desert sweeps west, and power plants in North America and Europe emit sulfur that blows east. Then, about 43 seconds into the video, Asia comes into view, and its coal-powered industrialization is clear. Okay, Teresa.
As the animation moves through time, you can see fires blow up from South America and parts of Africa. Dust from the Sahara Desert sweeps west, and power plants in North America and Europe emit sulfur that blows east. Then, about 43 seconds into the video, Asia comes into view, and its coal-powered industrialization is clear.
Is clear. Good. Okay, so as it moves through time, so that's the idea that as we're watching it, you know, it said 43 seconds here. Let's see. As it's moving through time, so we're seeing the different colors and how they're moving, the blue, the white, that type of thing, the green down there. And so it's explaining this. So fires billow up from. To billow up means to move up. So when a billow, it's this idea of, this is called billowing. So when a fire burns, the smoke, the soot billows up. That's the word that we use to describe this action. The soot or the smoke is billowing up. It's just moving up, you know. And also, so you see that from South America and parts of Africa, and then you have the dust from the desert, and sweeps west. So to sweep is the verb, and usually we think of sweeping like the floor, you know, to clean the floor or something, but in this case it just means the movement. So the dust moves west, or flies west, or sweeps. It means it's just moving that way. And then we have power plants. A power plant is like a utilities. So a power plant creates electricity or something from different ways. Could be coal, could be nuclear, you know, these different types of power plants. And these power plants are emitting sulfur, and that is blowing east. So lots of different words here in terms of the English to describe movement. Sweeps, blows, billows, that kind of thing. These are all just movements of these types of emissions. Okay, and then you see as Asia comes into view, you see the effects here of the coal-powered industrialization. So coal-powered just means that it's being powered by coal. So in China, they have a lot of coal power plants. So a lot of burning, which means a lot of soot, a lot of stuff being put into or emitted into the air. So that's really happening in China a lot. Large swaths of emissions from burning coal pulse from China and Southeast Asia in white. Sometimes the particles blow east and mix with storms above the Pacific Ocean. These storms can have a big effect on winter weather in the U.S., Jiang says. Storms in the Pacific move northwest. Some hit the west coast and cause rain and snow. Others end up far north in Canada, where they can alter the weather across the entire U.S., Jiang says. Okay, Ken.
Large swaths of emissions from burning coal pours from China and Southeast Asia in white. Sometimes the particles blow east and mix with storms above the Pacific Ocean. These storms can have a big effect on winter weather in the U.S., Jiang says. Storms in the Pacific move northwest. Some hit the west coast and cause rain and snow. Others end up far north in Canada, where they can alter the weather across the entire U.S., Jiang says.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So here we have a large swath. So a swath is just an area of something, and if it's large, of course, we're talking it's really big. So a big area of emissions. So when this is coming from the burning coal, and again, the pulse is kind of describing the movement. So it's pulsing, it's moving from China and Southeast Asia, and this is in white. So again, if we watch the animation, we'll see this large area where you can see that all these emissions are coming from this particular area, and that's representing the coal that's being burned in China. And so we have the directions blowing east, mixing with storms above, so talking about storms happening above the Pacific Ocean, so in the air, and these storms can have a big effect on, and I just wanted to point that out in terms of the expression. Something has an effect, or you can say a big effect, a large effect, you can say a small effect, you can describe what type of effect it has, and then you use the preposition on. So to have a big effect on something, so in this case it's affecting the winter weather in the United States. Alright, so then we get some more movement here, moving northwest, and then some hit the west coast. So when we talk about weather hitting an area, that means when it comes there, when it reaches. So if you say, like, you know, a tornado is going to hit the west coast or the east coast in 5 hours, that's when it's going to affect the weather in that particular area. So that's how we use hitting in terms of weather. It's when it actually happens. So some weather hits the west coast and causes rain and snow. Others end up. So if something ends up, that's where the final place is that it goes. So sometimes this weather pattern ends up, or results in going far north in Canada. That's where it ends, and then it can alter or change. It can affect change in the weather across the whole entire U.S. The entire just means the whole state, all of the states there, the 48 states there, not counting Hawaii and Alaska. All right, so what does a bunch of extra pollution from Asia do to clouds over the Pacific? It makes them bigger and heavier with more precipitation, Jiang and his colleagues reported last year. Atmospheric particles can serve as cloud nuclei and foster cloud formation, Jiang writes. The particles give water vapor something on which to condense. Okay, Ebert.
Okay, so what does a bunch of extra pollution from Asia do to clouds over the Pacific? It's made them bigger and heavier with more precipitation, Jan and his colleagues reported last year. Atmospheric particles can serve as a cloud nuclei and foster cloud formation. Jan writes. The particles give water vapor something on which to condense. Jan isn't sure yet how much.
Hold on, Ever. Yeah,
Okay.
just that part. Yeah, everybody, just so everybody has a little bit of something to read. I don't want to run out of words. Okay, So
Okay, sorry.
the question, yeah, no problem. So this is the question they're asking. What is a bunch of extra pollution? So a bunch of something means a lot of something. So whenever you say a bunch, it's like, it could be like a handful, it could be a lot, but it gives you the image of a quantity. So a bunch of extra pollution from Asia. What does this have to do with the clouds? How does it affect them? Well, it makes them bigger, so we're describing them now, and heavier with. So clouds can become heavy with precipitation. So precipitation means it's going to rain, and that's what is happening here. These clouds are getting bigger and heavier with more rain. And so they explain here what happens. So you have these particles that are in the atmosphere, so they're called atmospheric particles. It just means they are in the atmosphere, and they can serve as a cloud nuclei. So a nuclei is like the center thing, the main thing, and so the clouds form around these particles, and they form. So the formation, to foster cloud formation, just means to create clouds. So it can lead to cloud formation or cloud creation. So all these particles are coming together, and there's this water vapor in the air, and so to condense it, when the water condenses, it creates the cloud, and then eventually it releases the water as precipitation or rain. So that's the idea of how this is happening. When you have all these extra particles from the different emissions, they're being emitted into the air and then mixing, forming more clouds, and they're bigger and they're heavier, and then the water vapor condenses into these clouds, onto these particles, and then you get more rain. Jiang isn't sure yet how much the bigger storms in the Pacific are to blame for cold, wet winters on the East Coast and drought in the West. His research team is working on models and computer simulations right now to look at such questions. We have not reached a final conclusion yet, he writes. In the meantime, people in China are starting to realize more and more the catastrophic effect the country's pollution is having on the environment and the nation's health. Okay, Tony. Right here.
Okay. Jai isn't sure yet how much the bigger storms in the Pacific are to blame for cold, wet winters on the East Coast and drought in the West. His research team is working on models and computer simulations right now to look at such questions. We have not reached a final conclusion yet, he writes. In the meantime, people in China are starting to realize more and more the catastrophic effect the country's pollution is having on the environment and the nation's health.
Great. Okay, so they aren't sure yet. So when you have this use of yet, it means like still. They don't really know up until now. So yet. Maybe in the future they'll have a better understanding, but up until now they don't really know exactly what. They're not sure yet. How much bigger the storms are. Maybe they're quite a bit bigger, maybe they're just a little bit bigger. They're not exactly sure. And when you blame something, that means you say this is the cause. So they're not exactly sure to what extent are these bigger storms the cause of cold and wet winters on the East Coast. So if you're paying attention, you notice that these are capitalized: East Coast, West Coast, the West. Now, we only capitalize it when we're talking specifically like as the place. So it's almost like like you're saying a state, but it's a region. So the East Coast and then the West. But if you're just giving directions like go east, then go west, you do not capitalize it. So this is just describing a specific place here in the United States. So the East Coast, New York, Boston, that whole area. And then on the West, or in the West, we are having a drought. So California, for example, has been in a drought situation, which means they have not been getting a lot of precipitation, not enough rain over the years. And in fact, in my state of Washington this winter, the snow pack is really low, so it has not snowed very much in the mountains, which is what you need to have water later on in the spring and the summer. So the West is having a drought situation. That's also happening. Teresa, you probably have heard about that in Sao Paulo is having a serious drought as well. So okay, so they're making models. So when you make a computer simulation or a model, you're trying to figure out what does it look like and how can this happen and what will happen if it continues. That's what you do with these computer models or simulations. Very similar ideas there. But they have not reached a final conclusion yet. So again, the word yet. And I just wanted to point this out. This is a really good expression here, to reach a conclusion. It means to come to a conclusion, or to conclude is the verb. It just, you haven't gotten to a conclusion yet. So when you reach a conclusion, that means you know something, you decide this is why it's happening. We understand. But they don't quite know, so they have not yet reached a final conclusion. So, a final conclusion would mean like we finally understand it very well. They don't know that. In the meantime, this is a way to express, you had one idea that's happening here, and now you're switching to another idea, but it's happening at the same time. So in the meantime, so at the same time that they're trying to figure out what's happening, in China what's happening is that people are starting to realize, starting to understand more and more about the catastrophic effect. So describing the type of effect, catastrophic means horrible, terrible, it's having a serious effect on their health. The pollution in the country is having serious or catastrophic effect on their environment. So their plants, rivers, ocean areas, lakes, things like that, and also on the nation's health. That means the people of the population's health. So maybe have more asthma, coughing, respiratory diseases, things like this. Just this week, the documentary Under the Dome, investigating China's smog, went viral across China. Environmentalists are hailing the documentary as an eye-opener for the Chinese, NPR's Anthony Kuhn said Wednesday. But clearly, development fueled by coal has unexpected repercussions, or repercussions, either way, repercussions that spread way beyond a single country or continent. Okay, Teresa.
Just this week, the documentary Under the Dome, investigating China's smoke, went viral across China. Environmentalists are hailing the documentary as an eye-opener for the Chinese. NPIC Anthony Kuhn said Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday. But clearly, development fueled by coal has unexpected repercussions that spread way beyond a single country or continent.
Good. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so a documentary film, and if you click on the link, you'll be able to see it on YouTube. Under the Dome. A dome, let's see, a dome. Let me just show you a picture of a dome. That's the easiest way to explain the dome. This is a dome structure, like a geodesic dome. So when you say under the dome, you're talking about inside here would be under, but in this case it's a different connotation. There's like a big, a big area, and it's called China. So China's having, the dome is like the area that's covering the atmosphere around that surrounds China. That's kind of the idea. So going under that, inside of that, and really investigating the smog. So smog, if you type in China's smog, you'll see what that is. This is the problem that they're having. So all the cars, all the coal really, produces this smog. So it's like a fog, but a fog is a natural thing, like a cloud. But smog is from man-made industrialization, if you have a lot of dust in the air, you have a lot of particles being emitted from like the soot, that type of thing. So here's a picture when they're having a smoggy day versus a clear day. That's like shows you there the impact of the smog. And to go viral, when something goes viral on the internet nowadays, that just means tons and tons and tons of people are watching it. So when something goes viral, and this is an online thing, it means lots of people watch it. So a lot of people are watching this video on YouTube, and environmentalists, people who are activists for the environment, they are hailing. To hail means to praise, to greet, to welcome, to cheer, to say, yes, that's great. And they're saying it's an eye-opener. So they're hailing it as an eye-opener. So they're saying it is an eye-opener. It is something that is making people open up their eyes to see. That's what an eye-opener is, something that helps you see. Okay. Clearly, development fueled by coal. So the idea that the industries are developing because of the coal. They're being fueled by, supported, energized by the coal. It has had unexpected. So when you expect something, that means you think it's going to happen. But if it's unexpected, it's not. So maybe they weren't thinking ahead of time, you know, what's going to happen when we develop using these coal plants. So they've had some unexpected repercussions or repercussions. You can pronounce it two different ways. And that just means the results. Like a repercussion of your action is a result that happens. And so they've had some things that were unexpected, like huge amounts of smog and pollution. They didn't realize that, perhaps. And to spread way beyond. So to spread is like to move, okay? So these repercussions of all this coal burning, it's having effect beyond, outside of, you know, past, farther than the single country or a continent. So the pollution that's happening in India or China is not just affecting those people and that land, but it's moving beyond, going outside of that country or outside of the continent and affecting perhaps other places in the world. So that's the idea. And that's what they're saying here in this simulation here, trying to understand how that could be happening as the information that was put into this model shows the movement of the particles around the world, you know, going all across the globe. So not just in one single country, but it's affecting the whole Earth. So the Earth as one unit, not individual countries or continents or something like that. So it's pretty interesting. Okay, guys, so we finished reading. Now what we do is, does anybody have any questions related to the language? So, of course, this is an English class, and so we want to focus in on the English. Does anybody have any questions about the vocabulary, what something means, how to use it?
Well, okay, in the part that says people in China are starting to realize, can I say, instead of realize, can I say notice?
Yeah, exactly.
That's correct. Oh, okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's a really good practice to do, and sometimes I try to point out in English, as in your own languages, you have a choice of words, you know, and that's, people have their own style when they write, when they speak. So it's really a good way to increase your vocabulary when you're trying to find alternatives. So that's a good exercise. So in the meantime, you could say, or at the same time, or, you know, nowadays, or, you know, currently, recently, you can say lots of different things. People in China are starting to realize, they're starting to understand, they're starting to see, they're starting to think about, you know, more and more what's happening. So yeah, lots of different ways to say the same or similar thing, and that's how people have a style, and that's why it's a good idea to read lots of different types of articles, because then you get exposed to different types of language, different vocabulary, that type of thing. So expressions, some people, when they write, they like to use a lot of idiomatic expressions or something. But yeah, good.
Teacher, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi. Sinyo, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm from China.
I know. So,
Oh,
what do you think about this article?
I am just outside and listen to the teaching.
Okay.
Oh, I will tell you the bad news.
Okay.
The the documentary under the dome
Yeah.
currently is prohibited by the Chinese government.
Oh, okay. So Chinese people can't really see it right now too much.
And the Chinese people
Yeah.
have only seen this documentary only a few days.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what do the Chinese people think about the smog and the pollution? Are they worried?
Most of people worry about the smog seriously.
Yeah. And what does the government say about the smog?
Mm, eh, the government trying to solve the government is trying to solve the problem, but
Okay.
the but it currently doesn't take the key measures to solve the problem.
Yeah. It's very tough. China's, of course, not the only country that has pollution. I mean, the United States has plenty of types of pollution, air pollution, water pollution, sure.
And the pollution is related to the political system. You know, China is under the dictatorship.
Yeah.
It's not the democratic country.
Right. That's true. Yeah. We have only about 3 minutes, so let me just ask if anybody wants to make a comment about this. Thank you, Zinyu, for joining us and telling us we always can read things, but then it's nice to hear what's really happening in the country. So, Ken or Eber or Tony or Teresa, does anybody want to make a comment about the article?
No.
No?
Well, just only a little message.
Okay.
Recycling can save the world.
Recycling. Certainly, that's a important thing to do nowadays, to recycle. What about in Peru? Does Peru experience very much pollution?
Not so much. However, the city halls or municipalities usually provide the neighbors with plastic bags, a special kind of plastic bags, in order to classify the garbage. Plastic bottles in one bag, and sheets of paper or newspapers in another kind of bag. The idea is that this municipality classifies and recycles these materials in order to transform these materials into tables, into other kind of things, you know?
Yeah.
In order to save the world.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, there are lots of things that we can do. You know, as we modernize, we have problems with the lifestyle that we choose, the things we want to have. But Teresa, you're probably interested in this topic because studying solar panels could be a benefit, perhaps, in the future as a cleaner way to create energy than coal, for example. So probably. I know solar power is a cleaner energy than coal.
Uh,
Is that
And
correct, Teresa?
oh, yeah, repeat please the question.
Is solar energy cleaner energy
Oh,
than
yeah.
coal? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yes, yes. I think it's completely necessary in the situation in around the world. I think that a country have a specific problem with
Mhm.
the pollution and about air. And so I think it's necessary to find a specific field
Mhm.
field of
Mhm.
the source field to produce energy, and
Mhm.
so I think it's completely necessary, and it's been yes, just
Okay, great. Well, our time has run out, so I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. But thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed it. And it's a great way to practice your English, but also talk about something interesting and maybe learn something new related to our modern day life. So yeah, pollution, it's a problem in many places, not just China. So we have to support China and also ourselves. Okay, guys, thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye, everybody.
okay.
See you next time.
Bye.